Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've got your Week 8 start and sit video for the quarterback position. Again, we are just about a little over halfway through the fantasy season, so hopefully you guys are in good position. We've got still obviously some great games coming up, some great weeks. Trade deadlines are coming soon, so make sure you guys are prepared for that as well. If you guys have trade questions, always hit us up in the comments. Hopefully you guys checked out our waiver wire video already. There were a lot of injuries, unfortunately, this past weekend. We want to make sure you're prepared for that. With that said, there are two teams on a bye this week. You've got the Chargers and the Chiefs. So that you're looking at two good quarterbacks, Herbert and Mahomes, missing this week. So hopefully you got some good backups or maybe some streaming quarterbacks that I'm going to mention here you should grab. Now, these are your obvious starters as far as quarterbacks go. I only have a few. Quarterback has been a little bit shaky lately. Some of those top tier quarterbacks that most people are used to playing have not been performing. And some of those quarterbacks you're probably like, what? Where did you come from? Are scoring points. So these are your guys. All right. Now let's jump into the starts. The first quarterback I have is going to be Kirk Cousins going against the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals just allowed 29 points to Andy Dalton. All right. Andy Dalton had 4 touchdown passes, 360 passing yards. He did throw 3 interceptions, which obviously helped out the Cardinals with that victory. But again, they just allowed Andy Dalton to score like that. And Kirk Cousins has actually been on fire. Cardinals are allowing 20.3 points to quarterbacks and 265 passing yards. With Kirk Cousins coming off a bye as well, I think it's only going to help him with the health of obviously Dalvin Cook. Everyone's getting ready. They're game planning for this one. And a lot of people are just, I'm not sure what the hate is. Right now, Kirk Cousins is number 13 in fantasy right now. He hasn't performed as well I thought he was going to this year with this new passing offense. But I think it's only going to get better. Sometimes these new coordinators and things like that does take some time, but I like Kirk Cousins a lot against the Arizona Cardinals. Another quarterback I like this week is going to be Daniel Jones against the Seahawks. Now, Daniel Jones, if you haven't watched our waiver wire video, I mentioned as a good waiver wire pickup. I picked up in a few of my leagues. He's averaging 17 points so far this season. He's going against the Seattle Seahawks defense, which is allowing 19.1 points to quarterbacks and over 260 passing yards as well. What makes this a great matchup as well, and I think a lot of people are kind of forgetting about Daniel Jones, is he can rush. He has over 300 rushing yards. He has done a really good job. He's very athletic. He doesn't look like it, but this kid can move. And the fact is, the Giants are really playing well. Okay, I hate to say that. It hurts to say that as a Cowboys fan, but the Giants have performed pretty well this season. And there's a lot of disrespect going on with Daniel Jones. And I understand he's not an elite quarterback. I understand that. And they may eventually move on from him. But as far as fantasy goes, he's actually doing really well this season. I like him this week. Another quarterback I like this week as a good start is going to be Kyler Murray. And it's odd for me to say as a good start because normally he's in my obvious. But I've watched some of his games. He has struggled. I know everyone kind of blames the whole Call of Duty thing that's been going on. And there may be some facts behind that. But Kyler Murray has struggled. He has not performed to the ability that he's capable of. And right now, he's averaging only 17 points the last 3 games. That's the same thing as Daniel Jones, if not more. All right. So Kyle Murray is not the Murray you're hoping he would be. But the reason why I have him a good start this week against the Vikings allow 18.6 points to quarterbacks and over 280 pass yards. Plus the fact that you've got DeAndre Hopkins back. I think the injury to Marquise Brown is obviously going to be a big effect, but getting Hopkins there, you had Robbie Anderson, from the Carolina Panthers, which now has got a full weekend. You still have Rondale Moore, who I have high hopes and dreams. You got Zach Ertz. The health of James Conner, obviously we'll see if that plays a factor, but I liked actually what Eno Benjamin and Keontae Ingram did, so I'm not overly concerned if Conner doesn't play, but I do like Murray this week. I think this is a good game for him to kind of turn around. 20 to 25 points is what I expect of him. Now, as far as the first quarterback I'm going to sit this week is going to be Trevor Lawrence against the Broncos. Broncos are phenomenal right now defensively. Now, this game is in London, so make sure you guys are prepared for that. This is 9:30 a.m. Eastern, so all you folks on the West Coast, that's a really early game for you guys, so be prepared for that. Now, this is a rough matchup for Trevor Lawrence. Broncos are the best at stopping the pass. They're only allowing 10.1 points to quarterbacks and under 200 passing yards. Broncos haven't allowed a passing touchdown since week 3 as well. And the defense usually travels better than offense, for example, traveling over the pond to London and playing in this game. So I'd like the Denver Broncos defense. They've got a great secondary. They've got a pass rush to get you there. Trevor Lawrence has been inconsistent enough where I'm not putting him in my lineup this week unless maybe super flex. Another quarterback I'm possibly sitting, and I know you guys are going to give me a lot of crap for this one and probably dislikes in the video, but I have Lamar Jackson as a sneaky sit. Now, you may have no other option but to play him, and I understand that. But there are some other quarterbacks you may consider depending on who you have on your roster and maybe who's out there for waivers. But Lamar Jackson against the Bucs for Thursday Night Football could be a trap game for him. Bucs do a pretty good job against the quarterback. They only allow 15.6 points and 210 passing yards. Lamar has struggled as well. Lamar's finished with 10 points last week, 15 points before that. Lamar has thrown an interception in 2 of his last 3 games. The O-line looks horrific. Now, getting Gus Edwards helps, even after losing J.K. Dobbins. But Bateman has been out, which has affected Lamar. He is obviously playing. Duvernay's been off and on, but he's a great special teams player. Mark Andrews didn't even show up last week because Lamar Jackson can't throw the ball. If you watch that game, Lamar Jackson looks like he's a joystick just running back and forth because the offensive line can't block. This is just a game that I don't feel comfortable putting him in because this is where I think people start him because they have to, because that's their only quarterback. They drafted him high. You don't have anybody else. And then he puts up another measly 8 to 10 points. And now you're in a position where you're going to lose. I think there's just better options out there for quarterback. And I think he's not going to perform well. Now he could do, make me look like a fool, but this Bucs defense and the way the Bucs have played, they've got to turn around. They're going to be on a mission. I just don't like them. Last quarterback I don't like this week is Matthew Stafford. At this point, I think a lot of people are just dropped him. He's probably out there in waivers right now in your league. He's going against the 49ers, who are a pretty good defensive team. And I know it's tempting to play him since the last 2 games, the 49ers have allowed 25 points to the quarterback. They allowed it to Mahomes. Obviously, who's a beast. Mariota had a great game against them. But overall, this is a really tough matchup. The 49ers are a good defensive team. And Stafford has struggled. Earlier this season, he only put up 7 points against the 49ers. And I don't see that changing. 49ers hold quarterbacks to 14 points. I mean, this is a good defensive team. They've struggled the last couple of games, don't get me wrong, but as far as a matchup, Matthew Stafford sitting on my bench for sure. Now, as far as some good sleepers, you've got Jameis Winston against the Raiders if he does play, which he should. A lot of the reason why he didn't play the last week was because obviously Andy Dalton has done well, wasn't turning over the ball. Winston was obviously dealing with his injury, but they liked what Andy Dalton was able to do. He was being careful. But the fact that he threw 3 interceptions and then lose that game, I think that may have changed their perspective a little bit. So this is a good matchup if Winston does come back. Raiders allowed Mills to put up 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. I know someone in the comments last week said, I'm never starting Davis Mills, and I'm a Texans fan. And I understand that, but the Raiders are a bad defensive team. The fact that they allowed Mills to have 19 points, Tannehill to have 19 points, Raiders average 24.4 points to the quarterback. So I like Winston as a good matchup. If it isn't Winston, maybe Andy Dalton again, just because Andy Dalton could possibly put up similar points, but I like it if it's Winston for sure. Another guy I have Tua against the Lions. Lions allowed 21.1 points and over 250 passing yards. To his first game back, he had 260 yards and a touchdown. He did look a little rusty, and I understand that. He came back from concussion. That was a pretty severe concussion, 2 weeks in a row. He missed some time, obviously. They relied on the run a lot. And a lot of it had to do with just kind of getting him back into feeling comfortable, confident. But I like this matchup for him to really kind of turn around and be back to the Tua before the concussion. So those are my start, sits, and sleepers for the quarterback position of week 8. If you guys do have questions who you should be starting, again, always hit us in the comments down below, or you can follow us on our socials. We'll be able to answer questions there as well. If you guys did enjoy the content, make sure you hit the subscribe button and that notification bell is on. That way you guys are notified every time we drop a video just like this. If you guys did also enjoy it, make sure you hit the like button. It's greatly appreciated. We're building a great community around here. You guys have done a phenomenal job. I appreciate everything you guys have done. You guys are it's probably one of the best communities I've got that's out there. I don't care what you say. This is one of the best communities out there in fantasy. So thank you guys so much for subscribing and liking it. Guys, again, stay tuned. If you haven't, check out our waivers. Stay tuned to our start sits for running back, wide receiver, and tight ends. And I'll check you guys next time.